the origin of the story and the renewal of Nico Williams. Before we dive in, Madridistas, the usual reminder, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, drop your comment. Because here we don't just talk about headlines or rumors, we live Real Madrid with passion, with that intensity that makes this club unlike any other. What you're about to read isn't just the story of a contract extension in Bilbao, nor just another transfer market rumor. This is a tale about modern football, about dreams, strategies, and opportunities that could change the course of a player's career and, perhaps, the direction of Real Madrid itself. The central figure here is Nico Williams. For those who haven't followed him closely, Nico is not simply a young winger with speed and flair who has burst onto the La Liga stage. He is also the product of a unique family journey, a story of sacrifice, resilience, and ambition. His Ghanaian parents arrived in the Basque Country seeking a better life, and it was there, in Bilbao, that the Williams family discovered not just a city but a home. His older brother, Inaki Williams, was the first to break through, becoming an icon of loyalty and endurance at Athletic Club. But Nico's path was always going to be different. While Inaki established himself as a dependable striker at San Mamés, Nico grew up in Lezama with the added pressure of being the younger brother. Slowly but surely, he made it clear that he was far more than a sibling following in someone else's footsteps. His style of play, direct, explosive, unpredictable, gave him a unique identity. With every acceleration down the wing, with every dribble past a defender, Nico carved out his own reputation. Before long, Spanish football realized it had another rising star on its hands. And then came the renewal. A few months ago, Athletic Club proudly announced that Nico Williams had extended his contract. On the surface, it was a huge victory, securing one of the most talented youngsters to come through their system in years, while protecting him with a hefty release clause. For Bilbao supporters, it was cause for celebration, almost like winning a trophy. For the club's board, it was a reaffirmation of their philosophy: we don't sell, we protect our own. But in modern football, nothing is ever that simple. Behind the handshake, behind the smiles for the cameras, there was more to the story. That contract extension did not necessarily mean Nico was committing his entire career to Athletic. In fact, insiders close to the player have revealed that his decision to renew was influenced heavily by what was happening, or rather, what wasn't happening, in Madrid. Yes, you read that right. It's not that Nico turned down Real Madrid. It's not that he refused to listen to other clubs. The reality is simpler. Madrid never made a move. There was no formal proposal, no sign that the doors of the Bernabeu were opening. And without that signal, Nico and his representatives decided to secure his immediate future in Bilbao. This, however, should not be mistaken for a lack of ambition. On the contrary, Nico has repeatedly hinted, subtly but unmistakably, that wearing the white shirt would be an honor, a dream, a once-in-a-lifetime privilege. When he speaks about Athletic, he uses the words you would expect: pride, respect, loyalty. But when the subject of Real Madrid comes up, his tone shifts. He speaks with excitement, with a light in his eyes that's hard to miss. The contrast says everything. To fully grasp the importance of this situation, you need to understand Athletic Club's unique identity. The Basque-only player policy makes every renewal and every departure a matter of identity as much as business. The club has lost stars before. Javi Martinez left for Bayern Munich, Aymeric Laporte joined Manchester City, Ander Herrera went to Manchester United, Fernando Llorente signed for Juventus. Each departure hurt, but each one also followed the same pattern. Athletic resisted until the release clause was met. That's why Nico's extension should not be read as the end of the story, but rather as a strategic pause, giving the club leverage and the player security until the right opportunity arises. And this is where Real Madrid re-enters the picture. The club is in the midst of a generational transformation. In just a few years, the reliance on veterans like Kroos, Modric, and Benzema has given way to a new wave of stars: Vinícius, Rodrygo, Bellingham, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde. All under 25, all already world-class. But there is always room for more, and Nico Williams fits the mold perfectly. His speed, his ability to beat defenders one-on-one, his versatility on either flank, make him an ideal addition to a squad that thrives on attacking dynamism. For Carlo Ancelotti, or whoever the future manager may be, a player like Nico would offer depth, unpredictability, and a different attacking profile. Beyond the pitch, his status as a Spanish international adds marketing appeal and visibility, something Florentino Perez and his board never overlook. So what happens next? First, it's crucial to understand that Nico's new contract is not an unbreakable wall, but a filter. Athletic know that if Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester City, or any other European giant steps forward with serious money, the conversation changes. And second, Nico himself is open. He has no intention of forcing his way out. He respects Athletic and its fans too much for that, but he will not ignore the chance to join Madrid if they come calling. In essence, the renewal in Bilbao was not the final chapter. It may, in fact, have been the prologue to the real story. What looked like a pledge of lifelong loyalty may turn out to be the setup for a major transfer. Athletic would secure a significant fee, Nico would gain the platform to fulfill his potential, and Real Madrid would add another jewel to their crown. The transfer window looms, and the landscape could shift dramatically. In football, as history has taught us, nothing is final until the market closes. And if Real Madrid know anything, it's how to wait for the right moment to make their move. The Brazilian front and Xabi Alonso's vision. At this moment, Real Madrid finds itself at a crossroads, balancing tradition with transition, certainty with uncertainty, and the responsibility of honoring its glorious past while preparing for the unpredictability of the future. Few subjects illustrate this delicate equilibrium better than the situation surrounding the club's two Brazilian stars, Vinícius Jr. and Rodrygo goes. These two players have become more than just starters in the current lineup. They are symbols of the new generation, flag-bearers of a Madrid that, after the departure of legends like Cristiano Ronaldo, Sergio Ramos, and Karim Benzema, has been forced to reinvent itself without abandoning its aura of greatness. Vinícius, with his blistering speed, dribbling flair, and ability to decide finals, particularly his unforgettable goal in the 2022 Champions League final, has emerged as one of the most electrifying wingers in world football. Rodrygo, more subtle but equally decisive, has built a reputation as Mr. Champions League, delivering in high-stakes knockout games where others have faltered. Yet in modern football, nothing is guaranteed. The same market that elevated their status now threatens to destabilize it. Powerful clubs across Europe have begun circling, sensing an opportunity. In the Premier League, the financial heavyweights, Manchester City, Chelsea, even Manchester United, are rumored to have approached their representatives, armed with wage packages that stretch the limits of imagination. Paris Saint-Germain, perennially in search of global superstars to fill its Parc des Princes, views the Brazilian duo as potential successors in a post-Mbappe era. Even in Italy, where clubs typically lack the raw spending power of England or France, whispers from Milan and Turin suggest at least an exploratory interest, driven more by ambition and prestige than financial realism. Lessons from the past. Real Madrid knows these winds of uncertainty all too well. In 2018, when Cristiano Ronaldo stunned the footballing world by leaving for Juventus, the club was caught slightly off guard. The void left by the Portuguese superstar, in goals, in charisma, in global brand value, was profound. While Madrid eventually recovered, winning more titles and successfully ushering in a new generation, the transition was turbulent. That episode etched a permanent lesson in Florentino Perez's mind: never again be unprepared for the departure of a cornerstone player. From that moment on, Madrid's transfer strategy evolved. Rather than reacting, the club began anticipating. Investments in young players such as Vinícius, Rodrygo, Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouaméni, and Jude Bellingham were made with a long-term horizon, ensuring that when one era faded, another would already be taking shape. Now, with whispers surrounding their Brazilian jewels, the same mindset applies. Enter Nico Williams. And here enters the name that has started echoing inside the Bernabeu boardrooms: Nico Williams. The athletic club winger is not just another promising talent. He is, in many ways, the prototype of the modern wide forward. Still in his early 20s, Nico combines searing pace with technical finesse. He thrives in tight spaces, can unbalance defenses with a single burst of acceleration, and, crucially, contributes far beyond the attacking third. Unlike many young wingers who focus exclusively on flair, Williams embraces defensive responsibility. He presses aggressively, tracks back to support fullbacks, and helps maintain the team's tactical shape. That two-way commitment makes him a rare commodity in today's game, and coaches adore players who bring equilibrium alongside creativity. With the Spanish national team, Nico has already shown that he does not shrink under pressure. He has started key matches in major tournaments, and far from looking overwhelmed, he has flourished, bringing energy and unpredictability to La Roja's attack. Xabi Alonso's perspective. The final, and perhaps most decisive factor is the vision of Xabi Alonso, the current head coach of Real Madrid. A cerebral figure throughout his playing career, Alonso has brought that same intellectual rigor to the touchline. He values tactical intelligence as much as raw ability, and he has a keen eye for players who can adapt to complex systems while maintaining individual brilliance. For Alonso, Nico Williams is not a mere alternative to Vinícius or Rodrygo. He is what could be called a strategic acquisition. In Alonso's tactical blueprints, Williams represents a player who could raise the ceiling of Madrid's attacking play. His diagonal runs, his explosiveness in transition, and his relentless hunger align perfectly with the style Alonso wants to ingrain at the Bernabeu: proactive, intense, and multidimensional. It is telling that Alonso has a history of trusting young players. At Bayer Leverkusen, he nurtured the likes of Florian Wirtz, turning them into leaders of a team that played some of the most exciting football in Europe. His philosophy is straightforward: if a young player combines talent with character, he deserves real responsibility. Thus, Alonso's approval of Williams is no trivial endorsement. For him to give the green light means he genuinely envisions Nico as a player who could define an era in Madrid's future. Strategic insurance. Real Madrid's stance, then, is not one of panic but of foresight. The club wants to keep Vinícius and Rodrygo. They remain central to the project, cornerstones of both present and future. But in football, where careers are shaped by injuries, contracts, and the ruthless pull of the market, hope is not a strategy. Having Williams on the radar is about ensuring that Madrid is never vulnerable, never left scrambling should circumstances change overnight. The Bernabeu faithful are well aware that their club's greatness has always rested on its ability to blend galactic talent with pragmatic planning. Whether it was Di Stefano in the 1950s, Zidane in the 2000s, or Cristiano Ronaldo in the modern era, Madrid has always anticipated, adapted, and refreshed. Nico Williams may not yet carry the global aura of those names, but the belief within the club is that he has the ingredients: youth, talent, mentality, to grow into something extraordinary. Looking ahead. Ultimately, the situation is a balancing act, keeping faith in the Brazilian duo while preparing for every possible outcome. On one hand, the club continues to support Vinícius and Rodrygo, offering them both centrality and stability in the project. On the other, it refuses to be complacent, knowing that the footballing landscape can shift with a single phone call or a single astronomical offer from abroad. In that space between loyalty and strategy, between the emotional pull of continuity and the cold logic of preparation, Real Madrid is quietly shaping its next great offensive line. Whether Nico Williams becomes part of that evolution remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: with Xabi Alonso steering the vision, the club will not walk blindly into the future. Competition, tactical fit, and the big question: could Nico Williams be Real Madrid's next great signing? A rising star in European football. In recent years, few young players in Europe have generated as much buzz as Nico Williams. The athletic club winger, still only 22 years old, has rapidly evolved from a promising academy graduate into one of La Liga's most electrifying attacking threats. His trademark acceleration, ability to beat defenders in one-on-one duels, and an increasingly polished end product have made him a coveted name on the transfer market. It is not surprising, then, that some of the continent's biggest clubs have tried to lure him away from San Mamés. His performances are not just flashes of brilliance but evidence of consistency, maturity, and a football IQ beyond his years. Every season, Nico seems to add a new layer to his game: sharper decision-making, improved finishing, and the confidence to dictate matches. The Barcelona attempt that never took off. One of the first suitors to make a serious approach was FC Barcelona. For a club that has historically thrived on quick, technical wingers capable of stretching defenses, Nico appeared to be a natural fit. However, reality quickly hit the Catalan giants. Their well-documented financial struggles left little room for high-profile operations, and the lack of a stable sporting project further weakened their negotiating position. For Nico, joining Barcelona might have been tempting on a purely sporting level, but it was not the right time. The club simply could not provide the guarantees, financial or competitive, that a player of his profile demands. Barcelona's interest was real, but the execution was impossible. Paris tries its luck. The PSG proposal. Paris Saint-Germain also entered the picture, and as is customary with the French champions, their approach centered on money. A lucrative contract, a promise of star billing, and the chance to play in one of Europe's glamour cities were all part of the package. Yet Nico Williams turned them down.
Why?
Because money was never his primary motivation. By rejecting PSG, Nico showed that he values career trajectory, stability, and the right sporting environment over immediate financial gain. This decision spoke volumes about his mindset. He wants to play at the highest level, but in the right context, with the right teammates, and under the right philosophy. Staying loyal to Bilbao, for now. Ultimately, Nico chose to renew his contract with Athletic Club. It was a decision that delighted the San Mamés faithful, who adore their homegrown talents, and also aligned with his personal development. The Basque club has given him the platform to shine, and his connection to the fans and the institution is undeniable. But many observers believe this renewal was not the end of the story. It was a calculated move. Extending his deal ensured stability, protected his market value, and bought time. Behind the decision, some suspect, lies the dream of one day receiving the call every Spanish player grows up imagining, an offer from Real Madrid. Imagining the white shirt, a hypothetical front line. So let's play the game of imagination. What if Nico Williams joined Real Madrid? The possibilities are tantalizing. Picture a front line with Vinícius Jr. terrorizing defenses from the left wing, Kylian Mbappe commanding the central striker role, and Nico Williams exploding down the right flank. That trio would combine blistering pace, unstoppable dribbling, and lethal finishing. It would stretch defenses to breaking point, forcing opponents to choose between doubling up on one wing and leaving the other exposed or dropping so deep that Madrid's midfield maestros could dictate the game at will. And if circumstances changed, say, if one of the Brazilian wingers departed, Nico would seamlessly slide into that vacant space without any drop in quality. His versatility, athleticism, and tactical intelligence make him an adaptable solution across the forward line. Tactical implications for Ancelotti or his successor. From a tactical standpoint, Nico Williams would give Madrid an incredible weapon. Under Carlo Ancelotti, or any potential successor, the system could evolve in fascinating ways. 4-3-3 with natural wingers, Vinícius left, Mbappe central, Nico right. A classical setup but with devastating modern firepower. 4-2-3-1 with Nico wide and Bellingham central. This would maximize Madrid's ability to transition quickly from defense to attack. Rotational fluidity. Nico and Vinícius could occasionally swap flanks, confusing defenders and ensuring no side of the pitch feels safe. His presence would also relieve some of the pressure on Rodrygo, who has carried much of the burden as Madrid's primary right-sided forward. Competition breeds excellence, and the arrival of Nico would push every attacker in the squad to raise their level. Florentino Perez's transfer philosophy. Nico Williams would not just make sense tactically, he fits perfectly into Florentino Perez's long-term strategy. Over the past decade, Madrid's president has shifted away from exclusively signing established Galacticos and instead focused on building a generational core of elite young talents. Consider the names: Vinícius, Rodrygo, Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouaméni, Federico Valverde, and Jude Bellingham. Each was signed young, developed at Madrid, and is now, or will soon be, among the best in the world. Nico Williams would slide seamlessly into that philosophy, a young, hungry, Spanish international with the potential to dominate the next decade. The broader impact, beyond the pitch. Signings at Real Madrid are rarely just about football. They also carry symbolic, cultural, and commercial weight. Nico Williams has the charisma, style, and personality to become a fan favorite. His dynamic style of play is tailor-made for the Santiago Bernabéu, where supporters crave entertainers as much as winners. From a marketing standpoint, adding a young Spanish star also strengthens Madrid's identity as a club that balances global talent with homegrown or national heroes. Nico could become both a sporting and cultural ambassador for Madrid's next era. The central question for Madridistas. And so we arrive at the big question. Is now the time to go all in for Nico Williams? The case for signing him: Madrid would be securing one of Spain's brightest talents, strengthening their attack for both present and future, and maintaining a competitive edge over rivals in La Liga and Europe. The case for waiting: with Vinícius, Rodrygo, and Mbappe already in the squad, some may argue the attack is already overloaded, and that resources should be directed toward reinforcing other positions, left back, perhaps, or even planning for a long-term successor to Luka Modric and Toni Kroos in midfield. Both perspectives have merit. Yet, history shows that when a truly special talent becomes available, Real Madrid rarely hesitates. What lies ahead? What is undeniable is that Nico Williams will remain on Madrid's radar. His growth at Athletic Club, his role with the Spanish national team, and his increasingly decisive performances will keep him in the spotlight. The next transfer windows could be decisive, and fans across Spain will watch closely to see whether the Bernabeu finally becomes his stage. Now, over to you, Madridistas. Would you welcome Nico Williams with open arms? Do you believe he is the missing piece in an attack already blessed with brilliance? Or do you think the squad has enough firepower without him? This debate is far from over, and in the coming months, the conversation will only intensify. The Real Madrid machine never sleeps, and neither do we. Every step, every rumor, every possibility is part of the story. And who knows? Perhaps the next chapter features Nico Williams in white, sprinting down the Bernabeu wing, ready to write his name in the history books.